The Strategist class, or the support class if you will, is one of the most important aspects of any team shooter, and Marvel Rivals is no different. With the wide range of different characters to choose from, there's one in particular that I've been seeing get lots of hate. Constant Reddit posts, constant TikTok posts. Over and over again, I see so much hate about one particular character, and that is Rocket Raccoon. Today I'm going to be going into why he's so universally hated, and also what makes him great as well. Now, I know not everyone hates him, obviously, but I've seen a lot more inclination towards the negative when looking at him versus all the other strategists in the game that I don't really hear too much of. So let's find out as why everybody, asterisk on that, hates Rocket Raccoon. So Rocket Raccoon is a versatile and very fast-paced strategist. While it may seem deceiving, he actually ends up doing a lot more healing than you would expect. And besides that, he also is equipped with a couple of other very nifty things for the team. For starters, he has a respawn beacon, which when placed down, it can drop armor packs. But on top of that, you can actually revive a teammate immediately. Obviously, this is making sure that it's placed somewhere safe so it doesn't get destroyed, because it can be. But it's an excellent and important part of his toolkit and is extremely great to have on your team. I love when I get respawned immediately right next to the point when I end up getting killed. It's really awesome to have on the team and can be super clutch in the difference between winning and losing. On top of that, it also drops armor kits as well. So all in all, a great feature. On top of that, his primary fires at a very high rate. So his primary fire actually deals damage, and he can use this to whittle down people, obviously. And his right click, the secondary fire, is these healing orbs. Now, he does a ton of healing, even though it doesn't feel like it. Personally, I think Rocket is probably one of the worst feeling heroes in terms of healing. I hate the look and the idea of these orbs flying around as opposed to all the other strategists where you're shooting them immediately and it's quickly getting to the target that you're trying to hit. You know, so there's really no difference when you're using Sue Storm or when you're using Luna. When you're actually firing at your teammates or the enemy, it's the same kind of thing. It's the same rate of fire. You're kind of shooting at a consistent rate. But with Rocket, these orbs, they don't look like they're healing the team. I know they are, and again, I've seen Rockets end with 40, 50k healing, but you know, that's one thing that I just, personally for me, I'd never like the way it felt when you're healing with Rocket. Even though you're doing a lot, it doesn't feel good. But that's his main thing, and his primary fire, when up close, you can deal a lot of damage as well. And it's good that the right click, the healing, can bounce and ricochet off the wall, so you can get a lot of healing in that sense. Another thing he can do is sort of do a little jetpack boost to get out of places. So obviously one of the things when you're getting attacked from the backline, which all the strategists do, he actually has the ability to sort of jetpack boost a little bit forward. Twice, I believe, he's able to do that in a short period of time, and that's great when you're trying to get out of dodge. He also has the ability to climb walls as well, and if you partner him up with Groot, he can jump on Groot's shoulder. And then finally, his ult, which is always criticized, is his Cosmic Yarn Amplifier, which basically is this damage buff and an amplifier for the entire team. So everyone around his amplifier gets 40% damage boost to its allies, but unfortunately that's all it does. So those are all his abilities. Now, one of the big criticisms that I see is that his ult is terrible in comparison to all the other ultimates from the strategist. So the 40% damage boost can be very good depending on the situation. Obviously there's certain characters that are going to go hammy with this 40% damage boost, and when used at the right time, you can definitely do more of an offensive defense, if that makes sense. So if the team is really starting to jump onto the point and the attack's finally happening, using the amplifier can give you just that little edge to get everybody on the same page and get more of a boost for your team and end up winning the fight because of that. Personally, I think they could add a little more to the ult to make it even better, but one of the big criticisms is that it's not a defensive ult. So a lot of the strategists, at least some of the main ones that are used, have these defensive ults. And if you don't know, a defensive ult basically means that it's an ult that will protect you from an attacking ult, for example, or something like that. So Luna is the great example of this. Her Her ult allows her to basically save her team when something's happening. So if everybody's low, she can pop her ult and it creates this aura around her that heals the team at a super high rate. This can also stop ultimates from killing people. Most ultimates, not all, but some ultimates that are more slower paced. For example, let's say C.Y.A is ulting, or maybe Spider-Man. You can actually mitigate all the damage and protect your entire team as well. So that's a defensive ult, one that you can pop when an enemy team is ulting or when your team is really low and about to lose the fight. Rocket can't do that. When you ult with Rocket, it's more of an offensive thing where you give them that boost to be able to protect themselves, but there's no extra healing. There's nothing protecting them from the damage that's coming in other than you're just stock healing. Another thing I see is that he has no crowd control. There's no kind of stun that he can use, nothing like that. This is a small gripe, honestly. I don't see this being a huge issue. Not all the strategists have that kind of thing, so I don't expect that. And then another criticism I see a lot is that he's a heal bot. So basically what that means is that his main and only job is to just heal his team, right-clicking the whole time, just getting tons and tons of healing, but not really doing much else. So personally, I don't think it's horrible to have a quote-unquote heal bot on your team always. I think that that's a good thing, and a lot of people see that at the end of the game they have 50k healing, but nothing else really in the other stat lines. Even though this isn't really the case though, sometimes I have seen a lot of the Rocket players that have a lot of damage as well, or a lot of kills. It's not all about that, but the idea of the strategist is you want to be not only doing damage and getting those assists, but also healing as well. So you want to do like a mix of both healing and damage, and a lot of the other strategists are able to do that. Loki, Luna, Mantis, even Sue Storm, they all have the ability to deal a lot of damage, but also Rocket. I mean, he has a machine gun. It doesn't do a lot of damage, obviously, but it can melt people if you're up close, or it can definitely help get those assists. So this really isn't a fair criticism either that people say they're heal bots. Now, this definitely is a criticism on how he's played. I think that's what people have a problem with. I think that if bad players are playing Rocket and they're not doing anything other than just healing and barely getting any damage, or barely getting any eliminations and just using their ult here and there, then obviously it's going to make the character look bad. But I have no question that if put in the right hands, Rocket could be a force to be reckoned with, or a great addition to the team if you're doing a good mix. So I think a lot of hate that comes with this character really derives from the players that are playing him as well. Not all, but the experience maybe at low ranks is probably worse when you have a Rocket on your team. Like, oh great, another Rocket. Because personally, I think that Rocket could be tweaked a little bit, but I think he's pretty solid when all comes down to it. And when you look at the statistics, they don't lie. When you put it in the right hands, it goes hammy. And I feel like streamers were starting to hate on this character, or say how he was bad and stuff like that, and complain about him. And I think people are sheep, so they kind of jumped on that bandwagon without really forming their own opinion on the matter, because it's really going to vary. And I think Marvel Rivals does an excellent job with these characters that a lot of them, if put in the right hands, they can be great. But I was seeing this particular character get a lot of different hate on Reddit, on different areas of the internet basically, and even in games. I see a lot of people talk about how there's so much raging involved, and rage quits and insults being hurled at them for even playing Rocket. Now, this is obviously, again, like I said, has a lot to do with who's playing the character as well. I really think it has a lot to do with that. It's just like Spider-Man, you know what I mean? If put in the right hands, he goes absolutely hammy, but I don't like seeing Spider-Mans lock in immediately in my games, because a lot of them usually don't do that. A lot of them get absolutely destroyed, and they're not him. They think they're Spider-Man. You're not Peter Parker. You know what I mean? Some of them are, but a lot of them kind of just end up feeding, and it's not so much the character, but the players. So I think that's something that a lot of people have to look at. But is the Rocket Raccoon hate deserved? I wouldn't say so. Is he top 3 in strategist? I could see an argument for that. I personally wouldn't put up in the top 3, but I could definitely see an argument for that. I think that they could tweak him a little bit, maybe to make him a little better in terms of his ult, or give him an extra ability. But truthfully, I think he's just pretty solid where he's at. And I think that the hate is coming from other places that aren't really related to the actual character themselves. So that's my opinion on the matter. But what do you think? Let me know below if you're a Rocket man, or what you think of Rocket mans. Are you having bad experiences, or is all this hate just absolutely dumbfounding to you? Let me know below, and please be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with the latest video game videos just like this.